CIOs and CFOs assemble. Today we're going to be talking about 5 red flags when working with IT vendors. We're mostly talking about enterprise companies working with software development companies or other IT vendors, and we're finding out what things to look out for in your vendors, looking at this issue from the standpoint of an enterprise executive. If this is the first time we've met, my name is Alex Pshenianykov. I'm the CEO of Techery, one of the top tier software consultancies in the United States, mostly focusing on AI enablement for enterprises. All right, let's get to this list of 5. I wish it was 100, but well, don't ask me why we only have 5. Number 1, the A-team superhero. No, not superhero, switch hero. Switch hero is kind of a made-up term for those people that usually start your project, but then somehow 2 months down the road, they get replaced with some other guys who are not as bright, not as sharp. And believe it or not, this is a pretty standard practice. I learned this from, well, a bunch of acquaintances in software development world, especially with outsourcing companies. It is a tradition, really. It's how they make money, because otherwise they would not be making money. But this is how they make money. They land a Fed account. That's what they call it, a Fed account, right? And then they assign their superhero all-star team to start the project. The customer is impressed. Obviously, the guys are doing amazing. They are showing progress, no bugs. Everyone's happy, great English, great processes. Everything is going according to the plan and all the promises. But then like 2 to 3 months down the road, when the trust is there, then all of a sudden the first sign of a problem emerges. When the vendor tells the CIO or VP of engineering, hey, we need to replace one guy, on the team. He's just as sharp, he's as great, but some personal matters, whatever. They need to swap places. And I mean, they've been doing great all this time, so there's no point for you to say no. And then in the next month or two, they start gradually replacing people that were working on the most complex stuff with people who are supposed to be as sharp, but they're explaining it like, oh, they were working on the architecture level. All further tasks are not as complicated. So we're just going to put these architectural level guys in something else. They will still be overseeing everything, which is a lie. And we're giving you the next best thing or best guys ever. And then you end up with a team that you really, have no relationship with. And the team that is slightly worse on the surface, like maybe doesn't speak English as good, maybe just not as sharp, not as quick, not as nimble when, it needs to be. But overall, like in about 4 months, you realize that the project is gradually been slowing down and the quality has been gradually decreasing and the amount of problems and issues has been increasing. And you start questioning the process, you start questioning what's going on and all that stuff. But it is really hard to pinpoint the problem back to the vendor because all that stuff has been gradually happening. But you end up working with a totally different team from the one that you started the project with. And the team that you have now is really hard to evaluate its level. But if you had to evaluate its level, you would find out that the team is like 50% less capable than the team that you started the project with. And the reason for that is if that same team that they had initially would still be on your account today, that company would not be able to sell their services to any other companies because that's how they do it. And they would not be making any money because obviously the team that you have right now will cost you the same because you have a contract, but they will cost them a lot less. So that's your first red flag. If that happens, if you see that they're swapping teams, swapping people a lot, that's probably what's happening. Number 2, you're just an account. I actually hate it. This is my least favorite thing when a company that works with an enterprise client has an account manager. I understand it's kind of the industry standard, but I just hate the word account. It is faceless, soulless, the most cold term that you could use to describe a customer that you're supposed to be helping, that's paying you money, and that is in trouble, hence you working together. So I don't understand how that's an account. Like I understand for a bank, some business, would have an account with, right? That would be an account. But for a software company, for a vendor to a larger enterprise, that's supposed to be a relationship. That's supposed to be an opportunity. That's supposed to be a battleground, whatever it is, but that company is not an account to you. So if you have an account manager with a software company and that account manager basically is a reactive, semi-proactive person that maybe sends you like a report once a month or maybe once a quarter, but mostly he or she is there to respond to your emails like, hey, how's it going? What is the progress? Hey, we feel like the team is slowing down. Hey, we feel like there are too many bugs. Hey, can you attend that Zoom meeting where we're going to be talking about the strategy? If you have to do all those things, the chances are you are an account. And if you are an account, it means that there's no one on your vendor's side who is interested enough in your business and in your company to determine who the decision maker is, to invite that person for dinner, to really dive deep into the problems that you as a decision maker, like CIO or CFO, or VP of engineering, COO, if they're not interested to learn what the problem is, then they're probably not interested in you succeeding anyway, because all they're interested in just making sure that the contract is automatically prolonged and the invoices are paid on time, and that they make sure it happens. But everything else is your thing, right? It's your problem. It's your business. We are just providing a service. And it is so staggering to me when I speak with the CIOs and other decision makers of our clients about this, when they tell me that we are one of the few or sometimes even the only company that does this. The personal touch, the dinners, the conversations, the exchange, the ideas, the proactive approach to everything. It's such an obvious thing for me to make sure that what you're doing actually matters. That's the first motivation that you have to have, right, as a vendor, that what you're doing actually matters, moves the needle, because that's a win-win. If the company's winning, you're winning another contract, and then everyone's happy, then you can toast to it, right? If your vendor is not doing this, well, that means that you're probably just an account. And if that works for you, like if it's some infrastructure work that is 2 months and they need to go, that's fine. But if you thought that that vendor would be a strategic partner to you and they're not doing the other part, then you're probably just an account, and don't expect them to show up in the crisis, because that's when the actual relationships are tested. It's when you have a crisis, when something doesn't work, like when there is a product launch or a market launch. Will they stay up all night with you for 2 or 3 days, 24/7 support? Will they be there to support your engineers if they run into a problem that is critical to the company's losing money, whatever? Those things, they matter. And if you only have an account manager who reaches out to you once a month, you don't even have anyone to ask for this, right? So if you're just an account, then don't expect them to show up for you in the crisis. Number 3 is kind of a continuation of number 2, but it's a little different. It's about the vanity metrics and no wins. So how vendors that do not move the needle manage to ride along and manage to stay afloat. They show you the progress. But the progress they're showing you is not the actual progress that you can show to your business or to your customers. It's the progress in Jira or like another issue tracking tool, right? So they're showing you that, hey, we've been working on these thousands of items this month, and our 40 developers have been busy day and night, working at least 8 hours a day, always 8 hours, of course, no breaks. And they have completed all these tasks, all these tickets have been closed, whatever. And then you look at all those numbers and they kind of make sense. But then you look at the result and the compilation, the app, the migration progress, the website refresh, the website redesign, whatever it is. And then you don't see any change. Well, that is a sign that they are just feeding you, vanity metrics that don't matter, but they look like the volume is there. So therefore, you have to pay the invoice. Well, a good rule of thumb is to make sure that the KPIs with your vendors are very clearly designed. Designed means that you designed the KPIs for them, not they dictating KPIs back to you. So a good KPI needs to be outcome based, not motion based, right? So like, yeah, we've completed all these thousands of tickets. have they moved the needle? Because in a lot of cases, software companies would create those tickets themselves. So like, here's the problem. And then they break down the problem into those little tickets. So if you actually start looking into those tickets, 80% of those tickets would not be needle moving. They would not be priorities, but they are working on them anyway. Make sure that your KPIs are outcome based. And one good rule to make it happen is to let your vendor know that in the next 12 months, we're having these strategic milestones when we have to show the results to our customers or to our peers or board of directors, whatever it is. We have to show this piece of software doing this particular thing. So it has to be very clearly described what it needs to do or how it needs to look like. And then if you do that, there's no way that they would be able to just say, well, yeah, it doesn't do that, but we have completed 300,000 tasks by now. It doesn't matter. Like, you have to agree in the contract. It has to be clearly defined as well that there are those milestones that are ahead of us. And that's what we're basically marching toward. So outcome-based KPIs, not motion-based KPIs. No vanity metrics. They don't move the needle. All right, number 4, they don't ask you very important questions. They might be asking you questions, but just not the right questions. And the right questions, they need to be strategy-based. If your vendor, whoever it is on their side, is not asking you, what are your priorities? What is your stance on AI? Have you guys thought about doing this? What is your opinion on migrating to this instead of that? Have you tried it? Actually, our experience from working with other two enterprises in your niche shows us that you should probably not be doing this, but do this instead. That's real consultancy, right? And questions like, what else? That is the most important one. What else can we do for you? What else are we missing? What else has to be done for you to win, for you to have lots of wins this year, for you to make sure that your competitors are behind? Where are we? Like, we are a team right now. What are we doing? What else can we do? Our team is ready. We feel like we're not doing enough, or we feel like whatever we're doing is not really moving the needle, or we're not showing immediate value. So is that a problem? Will your board of directors be skeptical about the whole operation because they're not seeing the immediate value? Like, for example, with migration, that could take 2 years. It is impossible to show like a mid-migration progress to the board of directors or explain the value of it until it's done. So what else can we do to show them that we are, a valuable partner, and together we're actually doing the valuable thing? So even if the answer is, it's okay, guys, like, I took care of that, it's fine. Just the fact that they are asking that question is already showing you that they're thinking how to be more valuable, how to add value, how to be a partner rather than being a vendor to an account. So if they're not asking you those strategically important questions, the chances are they're just coding, not contributing, not thinking ahead, not caring. And this is the least pleasant thing about working with vendors like that, is that they don't care. Like, if you cancel the contract tomorrow, terminate them in 30 days, whatever, some account manager would just emerge out of the smoke all of a sudden, like, never seen that person before. Hey, can we talk? Why did you guys cancel? I thought we had a contract and you had your goals. Like, can we talk about your goals? That's too late, guys. Like, you had to think about it beforehand, and you had to incorporate that into your process. And if that was not your process 12 months ago, there's nothing that can change that, or we know that it's not going to become your process right now. And number 5, well, this one is pretty obvious, but it happens all the time. And I don't understand why so many companies put up with it. It's the scope creeping with no warning. It's when you have a project and it's well defined and the vendor basically starts working on it. Everything's going okay the first couple months because no one's expecting any viable results. But then when it's time to show something, change orders start piling up. They start coming back to you and saying, hey, we actually underestimated that part. Hey, we actually underestimated this part. Hey, we thought that that part was ready, but like, there's a dependency from the other vendor, blah, blah, blah. All those things that should have been done way, way, way earlier now are being done as the plane is being built in the air. And so those change requests are piling up. And it is not uncommon to find yourself having to pay 20%, 30% over budget, right, to that vendor, because now you're kind of trapped. You're already in the process of working on something, and then all of a sudden, everything was underestimated. This vendor's duty and professional responsibility to make sure that everything has been taken care of before the project starts, that there are no gray areas, no black boxes, no dark corners. And even if your decision maker trusts you and is willing to start right away, encouraging you to move forward, you should still say no and wait until you figure everything out. And I think it's just dishonest to do it any other way, but apparently a lot of vendors still do it, and a lot of companies are still paying for it. But if you start seeing that the scope creeps appear early in the game, like month 2, 3, you still could terminate that vendor and replace that vendor with someone else. I think it's actually a lot easier, and yes, it's painful, but it's better to find a solution right then and there rather than let that vendor creep more changes and drag their feet longer, because that could just be like in a year time, that could just be an unsolvable situation when you're in this, in this position where you're stuck. You're not there, you're not here, you're almost there. You can't fix anything right now because that vendor is just so deep. It's impossible to just replace them and start fixing that stuff with your own resources because you're shorthanded and your resources lack knowledge that these guys have been gaining for the past 12 months. That's too late. In order for you to avoid that, learn to identify that red flag early and then just do it. Replace them. Stop the project. Wait a month. Like, you got to lose a month. On average, enterprises that put up with it, they lose like 6 months to a year of project time by not acting early. But again, if those little signs like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like everything we talked about today, if they show up early, if you notice those things, especially if they show up in combination, like for example, scope creeps and not asking questions 2 months in, that's probably a really bad red flag. 2 red flags together, like, you need to get out of there. What's hard is when you have 2 red flags and 1 green flag, which for example would be you're not an account, but they're actually building a relationship with you. They're great guys. Like that is the hardest, right? You're a good person and they're great guys, and you have a relationship with this great guy, but they're constantly asking for more money because the changes are creeping, and they're still not asking you questions, but they're building a relationship with you. You have to learn how to end it anyway, because your job, your company, your future, like everything's on the line. And all those things, they don't have to matter. They do matter, but they don't have to matter because the mission is top priority. Okay, I think we're done here. I hope you enjoyed this Lead with Tech episode. And if you did, like and comment as always. And don't forget to lead with tech. Lead with tech.